Hello, welcome to this week's edition of the Coaches Preview Show. We have two of our finest coaches here in the WCS Sports Conference. Derrick, who is a rookie of the show, head coach of Nolensville. Brian Coleman, a seasoned veteran of the show. Two guys that love to talk football. How y'all doing today?
Great.
Good, man.
Okay.
Good.
Both of you sitting at 2-1 right now, 1-0 in region play. Easily could be 3-0, arguably, in your particular situation with Page on that come from behind win where y'all lost 38-35. You lost to Indy. We're going to get the negatives out of the way. So y'all easily could be 3-0, both of you. Great season thus far. This is arguably the best game of the night in the WCS Sports Conference. Looking forward to this matchup between you two guys. Coach Derrick, first-year head coach at Nolensville. You're still looking for that first Wilco win. What's it going to take tonight to get that? I'm putting the pressure on Coach Coleman early.
Well, I mean, we're going to have to play a really good football game, a consistent football game. You know, Summit's a good football team, physical on defense, especially in the front seven, very active. Then they run the wing T. So we always talk about eye discipline as a defensive coach, but when you play a wing T team, that eye discipline is really at a premium. So we've got to play a disciplined football game, and we've got to play a full 48 minutes and execute at a high level.
Well, I know that when you talk Summit, everybody always brings up wing T, but you better be very careful of the vertical passing game that the Summit Spartans could potentially bring. Am I right, Coach Coleman? Or?
No, sir. I don't know what you're talking about.
Let's be honest. There are some things that are starting to shift and look a little different for your offense. I mean, it all starts right now with freshman quarterback Destin Wade. This guy's kind of come out of nowhere. He brings another option and another wrinkle to this offense. If you have a run-pass option and the defense sucks up on you on that, he can easily throw it. If they don't, he can run for big yardage.
That's true.
First off, are you surprised with my knowledge of football right now?
Not at all.
Okay.
You're such a guru. You'll say, what is it, wheel route in a minute, and you think you invented that word.
Well, I'm gonna rival the guru himself and bring out a new book next year. I think is what I'm gonna do, and put it in gas stations.
Oh, okay.
Is that okay?
I'll buy the first copy.
Okay, thank you.
Keep it
Anyway,
below $5 though.
Back to your quarterback situation. You've got it does add a different dynamic to your wing T, right?
He does.
So you
definitely
have to
does.
figure out that offense.
So yeah, and then you got to conform your offense to I guess to the advantage of your players. I guess if your quarterback is mobile, you got to make up some plays and put him in places where he can be successful. I mean, that's one of the reasons we started running the wing T, because our linemen were small and it made good blocking angles for them. So now, we're kind of morphing into different things according to our personnel.
Nolensville, Region 4, 4A right now on that schedule. Let's look down. Let's move tonight away. Let's talk about the future. Now, I don't want to get coach talk of we're taking game by game. Let's just look at your region play coming up. You're going to be at Lawrence County, which is a region game, Brentwood at home, at Tullahoma, Lincoln County at home, at Maplewood, and Marshall County. 4 of your last 6 games. Marshall, Maplewood, Tullahoma, Lawrence, region matchups. You already got a leg up on the competition by beating Spring Hill to give you that first win. We know as of last year you got into the playoffs, first time ever. Sure. TWSAA history, you get in, you win a game, all that. So how do you build off that momentum? How do you make sure we stay focused, not on just tonight's game, but when we get into the heart of the region play, just like you guys will after this game as well, how do we keep that focus and say, all right, here are some outcomes and goals that we're looking for?
For me?
Yes.
Well, first off, last week was a humongous win for us for a lot of reasons. One was because of the Page game and how that game ended. How we're going to bounce back, how we're going to respond, and I was very pleased with the way our kids did that. And then it was a region game, and I felt like it was a very important game to win, to go 1-0 in the region. To start off that way, we didn't win that game last year and started 0-1. So I think, one, that gives us a good start in the region, and 2, I think it gives us some confidence in the region.
Summit, Coach Coleman, looking at yours for Summit, at Columbia, at Page, Franklin County and Shelbyville at home, at Centennial, Lincoln County. So the Centennial game is the only game on your schedule left after tonight that is a non-region game. Once again, you got to get that focus, you got to get laser sharp during those games to make sure you come in those top 4 spots. You want to be in that first 2 spots to get that home advantage. Right now, once again, like I mentioned, you are 1-0 by beating White County last week 48-0. You're sitting pretty good. Same question to you. How do you continue to keep that focus? I know these games like Nolensville, I know the games, with Centennial, those are games that you don't have to get you guys up for.
That's true, because they're Williamson County games. I mean,
right.
Everybody knows kids from Nolensville. Everybody knows kids from our other non-region Centennial. So, And I don't think getting the kids up now for the rest of the schedule is going to be a problem. I mean, Columbia, Region, Page, undefeated right now, Region, Franklin County Region game. So, and then
It does take on a little
Shelbyville.
different feel because it maybe not have the White County game might not have the marquee name behind it.
Right.
But at the same time, you got to come out and play those games because you've got being the region champs from last year.
Oh, yeah, big
you've
target.
got the target on your back.
That's true. And White County was great timing for us. I mean, we were beat up. I mean, we had an Independence. We had a big game against Spring Hill, big game against Independence. Rivalry games, and then a White County comes in. Maybe not the caliber of team as the Columbia Pages and Shelbyville like that, but our kids responded well, started strong, and put on cruise control in the second half. So proud of them for that. But they're going to learn to stay, to start off strong with the rest of these teams. So we can't get behind on any of the teams in our schedule.
Sure. You mentioned, Coach Derrick, you mentioned the Page loss. You beat Fayetteville in week 1, 41-28, which is, I think we talked about this, me and you, earlier in week 1, how important it was to get off to a good start. A great game, came out, led predominantly. You did lead the whole game big. The whole game they come back and scored a little bit late, but that was in time of probably maybe the one.
Playing a lot of young kids at that
Right.
time. Yeah.
You bounce back, you play Page. You led big the whole game. They came back 38-35. We won't dwell on that, but I'm just saying you mentioned the fact that we got back on the horse. And I had a question mark myself on your team then. You're playing a Spring Hill team that I think a lot of people thought were a pretty good football team, especially on your outcome. Now, you got to look at your game. It was in a tsunami, a lot of turnovers, sloppy play, whatever. Week 1, you guys beat Spring Hill 12-6, but you came out and you beat Spring Hill 41-6. Running clock. That had to feel good to come out and beat those guys like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, just especially because coming off of the Page loss, my message to the team was, okay, we got up big. We didn't finish the game like we needed to finish the game. Now, are we going to learn from this moment? Okay, so basically we were in the exact same situation at halftime against Spring Hill, and that was what I told them. Now, we said we learned from last week. We learned from our mistakes. Are we going to finish the game? And we went out there and we finished the game. Now, early on, we jumped on them quick. It was kind of a perfect storm, so we had a lot of good things happen early, and I think that gave us some confidence. But, I was just proud of the way that they corrected the mistakes that they made against Page and were able to finish the game against
Let's talk about the 2 losses. We're not in it for attaboy, pat on the backs. Your loss to Independence, and I told you after the game, I do believe this. I think that your team is potentially better than last year, which is a lot of people, it's hard to say, Ty Carter not being there. That game, you had your kids looked different in that game. Now, you didn't win the game, 42-32. You had about 2 possessions where you didn't score. That was the difference in that game. If you could have got a stop or whatever. Your loss to Page, you go in, you lead the whole game, you lose. Young team, they're in new territory right now. You got to learn how to win. So let's talk about those 2 games. What did that mean for your team after the Indy loss? That you said it had perfect timing with White County, but at the same time, what did it do to your team? What did your team talk about? What was their feelings after the game? Were they mad? They didn't feel sorry for themselves? What was the whole situation? Say, you know what, we're going to suck it up. Let's buckle up and let's get to work.
I don't think they felt sorry for themselves. Our message as a coaching staff was we were happy with the way they fought. I mean, they fought to the very end.
They did.
They were, even the last play of the game, we were trying to rush the quarterback, things like that. So the fight was there. I think we just ran out of gas. Maybe we weren't in good enough shape. Maybe it's my fault. But things happen, and that offense, the way they're in a hurry-up offense, kind of, I don't know if we were physically ready for that either. But we fought. I mean, we were cramping. One play later, they come back. So, things like that. But they were fine. I mean, the week of practice the week after that was fine. I mean, they were bumps and bruises and get through that kind of stuff. But mentally, they were fine.
Sometimes when we're dealing with teenagers, and we were all there, that a game like that could really either make or break you. There's no such good thing as a good loss, but you're going to learn a lot of valuable lessons off having a lead and giving up that lead where you can discuss that. You may call a timeout and say, okay, guys, you remember week 2, we were in this position. What are we going to do? What do we not do to give ourselves a chance to win? I mean, is that something that you look at and you kind of springboard off into?
Yeah, like I said, it's just part of learning how to win. We're a young program and a young football team still. We play a lot of young kids, and I think that just unfortunately was a growing pain and a lesson we had to learn the hard way. I mean, we felt like we should have won the football game, and I wasn't upset with anything our kids did necessarily. I was just disappointed that we didn't win the game, and they were disappointed they didn't win the game. But like I said, if we can learn from those mistakes and not make those mistakes again, it's only going to help us grow down the road.
you weren't there. You were there the second year Summit was open, right, or the third year? Remind me, the third year. So you were there when the doors opened on the staff. So the growing pains of being the two youngest schools, newest schools in Williamson County. But I think it's fast tracked. I think it picks up so much faster from the days that Summit opened to now. I think Nolensville's grown so fast, and I think it would be the same way for any school that we open from this point forward. The 5-6 year curve window of opportunity to win has been shrunk down to about a 3-year, 2-year, 3-year deal. Now, I really believe that. And anywhere that they build, whenever the next high school, we'll go back and check and watch. But I think that 5-6 years of, we're the doormat, I think those days are over. I think both of you guys have officially arrived. I think you're big-time programs. And obviously, this is the first year of seniors at your place. This is your 4th year, correct?
Right.
4th year at Summit. And you're currently ranked in polls right now. I know you don't put any stock into that. In that 4A poll, I don't think you're quite there yet. I think if you were to win tonight, I think you would definitely catapult into that poll. Doesn't mean anything until the end of the year because, I mean, you could be ranked number 1 and get beaten in the first week of the playoffs, and it doesn't matter.
And I think, when Nolensville's handled the same way we have, it's a program. It's a building program. I mean, it's just not. It's a team by team basis, but it's a pro. You're building everything. You're building culture. You're building a fan base. You're building a student section. You're building everything because a lot of times they don't know how to do things. You know what I'm saying? They don't know how to handle this, handle that. And you're kind of teaching them along the way. So it's good. In which case you're building it yourself, that culture. But you have your growing pains. You have the close losses. You have this. You have that. But you can't let that snowball. You've got to get better from week to week. Does that make sense?
It makes 100%. Yeah, I mean, you're right. And given the places of where our current programs are, 1 through 9, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Everybody sees what we do. We mimic what the other schools do, and you put your own stamp on it, right? So, I mean, but you still have to build it.
Right.
Because nobody wants to get behind an 0 for 40 team.
Right.
I mean, but I don't, I think that we've got the amount of students that we have that we're not in any kind of danger of having those type of teams. But it's so difficult to get them to understand. And when you start from scratch to get those, but all you got to do is have just a little bit of success, and all of a sudden you got a huge crowd. Get some success.
That belief.
People start believing, and then they take ownership in this thing, and then you go to y'all's game, and y'all have got the biggest online sales of the week, 2 weeks in a row. You guys have unbelievable amount of people going to your games as well. This game is going to be it's going to be a huge crowd. It's going to be a great atmosphere. The student bodies are taking ownership. Being the little guys, new guys on the block against one of the brashest student sections. But you know what? You got to love being behind those guys because they believe in what you're doing.
It's fun. It's for our guys. It's fun to play for. It's fun to look behind you and see that student section. Definitely.
Yeah, I know for our like the Page game, our crowd was phenomenal, and our kids fed off of that, and we were able to jump on them early too and get out to a big lead. And I really truly believe that the atmosphere that Mr. Easley, our band director, and our student section put out that game. I truly believe our kids fed off of that, and it created a tremendous advantage for us early on.
I'm going to get off in the weeds for just a moment. It could be possibly non-football related, but if I'm building a new school, I think the blueprint of what y'all did out there with Nolensville, Mill Creek on the same footprint, talking the same language, doing the same kind of deals, I think that is advantageous to schools.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because it's a direct feeder. Everybody believes in what that it has the community feel. We grew up in a place where in rural Middle Tennessee where that's what you did. From kindergarten till 12th grade, you were a bulldog, you were a rocket all the way through. And I just feel like when it's that case, it's so much easier to build.
Yeah.
If you build it, they'll come, right? So it's one of those easy. All right, let's talk football. Forget enough about that. George Odomegwu, G.O., what a great player he is for you. It's filling in big shoes for Ty Carter. We knew that he was a 1,000-yard rusher last year. And here's the scary thing, Coach Derrick. He's only a junior. Right now sitting at 310 yards total for the year. Against White County, he goes for 84 yards and only 5 attempts, and then has 66 yards in the air on 2 catches, 1 touchdown, 150 all-purpose yards. What is your key to stopping George Odomegwu? Good luck with that. I want to hear it.
Well, first off, like I mentioned early on in the program, you got to play discipline on defense with your eyes, with your run fits, with your responsibilities of doing your job. then you got to get guys to the football. I mean, he can break it at any moment. So the more people we got around him, the better chance we're going to have to get him on the ground. So that's, I really don't have a good answer for you, but we could have a lot of guys there, and he still may take
A lot of people won't.
But we're going to try.
But on the other side of that coin, Coach Coleman,
Yep.
Colton Dooley's coming in here, and this guy is a bulldog, and he has been rushing over people. He currently has 386 yards, 10 touchdowns on the season already. Rushed 12 times for 32 yards against Spring Hill in the blowout. A lot of short field is what we were talking about earlier. Not a lot of opportunities for breakaway, but this guy, once again, neck and neck with George. Different style of runner. What's your plan?
Hard runner. He finds holes. That offensive line, big offensive line, makes some holes for him, and he finds them. And then you better be low. He's going to run you over.
He will absolutely.
Run you over.
You look at the Summit side of the ball on the offense. Destin Wade at quarterback. You've got George Odemegwu. Here's Trey Hunter, 110 yards the other night on 4 attempts. Did that come majority in the second half?
One long run in the second half.
Second half. Still 110 yards in a high school football game. This guy's an underclassman, sophomore. But Christian Jolly. Yeah, it's funny how you got your personnel's you got a great running back, both of you. Christian Jolly, Tim Stayschool. I kind of look at those guys, as the workhorses for you guys that bring a different dynamic, can catch the ball, can play different roles for you. What has Christian meant to you in your program? He's a 4-year guy. Been around, it seemed like forever, household name.
Starting outside linebacker, starting 4-back for us and runs the ball hard when we ask him to. But again, you got to be smart on how you use these guys. You can't overuse them on one side of the ball or the other. So, and I guess the way our schools are, the size of them, a lot of the guys have to play both ways. You have to limit the snaps they have and use them in the appropriate times.
Yeah, we're the same way. We try to rest guys when we can, but we got a lot of guys, playing both snaps. You just try to be smart with it. That's why, Colton Dooley could probably start for us on defense, but, him playing running back and carrying the ball as many times as he does, that's a deal where we just want to kind of, limit the hits he's going to take.
Kuchers is another one that comes up.
Yeah.
You see his name pop up a lot. But I want to talk about your sophomore quarterback, Ryan Gallardi, right now, who has had to step into this role not by committee, but by force. He didn't have a choice because Brandon Wharton kind of dinged up right now. We don't know let's just go on and get that injury report out today. Is Wharton? I'm the reporter, Nick Saban. Hey, is Brandon Wharton going to start?
He's week to week.
Okay, he's week to week. We don't know.
He's
but
week to week.
You've got a plan for Ryan Gallardi. That's not like it's just, hey, second. This guy's come in.
He's done a phenomenal job. He's done a phenomenal job. We always kind of knew what we had in Ryder, so he was always there. Was a freshman last year, was our backup quarterback, so got some significant experience, practicing with the varsity last year and doing those sort of things. And he stepped in and he hadn't flinched. We always talk about next man up, and for him being a young guy against Page, making his first start, he did a lot of good things and he made some mistakes just because of lack of experience. But we're very, very pleased with what he's been able to do and how he's been able to operate the offense.
Well, let's talk about Nolensville's coaching staff. If you're new on the team, I usually ask this question to everybody that comes in. Let's talk about your coaching staff, what their positions or what their responsibilities are.
Yeah, so offensively, I think we've got a really good room there. Pat Kern comes over from Brentwood as offensive coordinator, and known him my whole life. So got a good relationship with him, and then I got the guys that were here from the previous staff with Coach Hester. Coach Childs works with the quarterbacks. Coach Gunner works with the wide receivers, and then we're also able to add Coach Mark Williams, who's offensive line coach, and he's been a coordinator and been a head coach. Daniel Childs has been a coordinator. Pat Kern's been a defensive coordinator. Coach Gunner was 5-6 years with Coach Hester in that offense. So you got a lot of guys with a lot of different experiences, a lot of different backgrounds that bring great ideas to the table every week. And I'm just really, really pleased with what they've been able to do each and every week, coming up with a good plan to try to maximize what our kids can do. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I'm the defensive coordinator. I work with the defensive backs. Coach Kern also helps us out outside linebacker some, and then Coach Smith is our inside linebackers coach, and then Coach O'Brien is our D-line coach.
I'll have to say this. I'm going to brag on you. I'm not going to brag on Coach Coleman ever, but I'm going to brag on you for a minute. It's not easy to step into a role that you've stepped into. Mm-hmm. Everybody wanted to say, big shoes, can't fill them, blah, blah, and we all love Coach Hester and what he brought to the table. But let me tell you something. You have handled it with class and grace. a lot of people ask you some very uncomfortable questions sometimes, and you handled it great. Your kids get handled, they get, we want to ask them the same questions. You're like, come on, man, they're kids. Trying to say, what's the difference between coach? You've handled it perfectly, and I want to commend you
I
on
appreciate
that.
that.
And
I appreciate that.
say, your record speaks for yourself, too. You've got in there, the kids have bought in. There's been no drop-off. You're playing well, and I want to commend you on that. Coach Coleman, you, on the other hand, you've got a lot of work to do.
A lot of work to do. Amen. In a lot of areas.
He always is hard on you, man.
Let's talk about your team, Coach Coleman. On the defensive side, who are we looking at right now? A lot of people talk about your defensive line of how really good they are. Who do we have?
Braden Stem, Zach Klaus, and Kiston Arnold are the 3D linemen. Jonathan Myers and Christian Jolly at the outside linebackers. Those really, and we have Max Meeker at middle and Jalen at middle linebacker also. So they, those guys, they're big, tall kids, and they're pretty physical, which helps us out a lot.
Defensive backs, I noticed against Independence, you had George out there a little bit too as well, playing safety.
Just playing center field, yeah.
Yeah, and I asked Coach Kirby, who was over there, I was like, I don't know that he's ever played. He said, well, he makes a good point. He's an athlete. That dude can hawk the ball and take care of business when he needs to.
Just playing center field, yeah.
And that's one of those intangibles that it's one of those things that you can go out there, throw him out there, and he can make plays left and right. Coach Derrick, defensive side of the ball, I've mentioned several times on the show previously about C.J. Ware. Good-looking athlete. This dude is 6'4", 215 pounds, big wingspan, high speed, has a Louisville offer on the table, if I'm not mistaken. So talk a little bit about your defense, including him.
Well, CJ, he's really started to come on these last couple of weeks. Battled some injuries in camp and, was able to get back out there these last couple of weeks and really start to play at the level that he's capable of playing at. But defensively, we've, got a lot of really good players. Our D-line is probably, in my opinion, the strength of our team. Dan Rickert, Grant Reeder, Zach Larkin, Braden Clark also gets a lot of playing time there. Very, very disruptive. Coach O'Brien, our D-line coach, does a great job with those guys. Then you got outside linebacker, you mentioned CJ. You also got Timmy Staceco, who's an all-state player last year for us at outside linebacker. And then at inside linebacker, Wes Miller, Gabe Bauman, Connor Rigsby. They do a great job. We kind of roll those guys through there. And then on the back end, you got Jack McWilliams. He's pretty much the quarterback of our defense. He gets everybody lined up, makes all of our calls, all of our checks. We really put a lot on him. Wes Jones, free safety. And then our corners have really, really played well. Tim Kuchers, you mentioned him earlier. I think he's got 3 picks on the year. Had one last week that he took back about 42 yards for a touchdown. And then Colby Anderson, he's got a couple picks as well. But, what we've been able to do defensively this year is turn the ball over. I think we got 12 turnovers right now. So very, very pleased with the way we're running to the ball and flying around and getting the ball back to our offense.
When you watch the tape on them, the thing that stands out to me, they're a hard-hitting team.
No doubt.
I feel like that's one of the things they hang their hats on. It's like a blue-collar worker, man. They're going to go in and you better pack a lunch because they're fixing to hit you.
And as Coach said, if you get people to the football, good things are going to happen for you. You're getting that second hit, or after that second hit, you're getting the recovery of the fumble.
I mean, you're a defensive guy as well. Talk about a little bit what you're seeing on their side of how, obviously we know what we're going to do combat it offensively, but what are you looking at and trying to determine your play calls?
It's the physicality and the aggressiveness, especially out of the safeties. I mean, those safeties are flying up. 33 is really flying up, making a lot of plays. So, we have to game plan for that.
Would that be, when you say making plays, is that making play on the ball after the handoff, or are you talking about making plays defensively trying to throw against the pass?
I'm saying on the run.
Because if it's against the pass, they're going to have to come up and try to sack your quarterback because you're not going to be throwing the ball, right?
I don't know. You never know. Never know. We're averaging about 4 a game, right?
3 in warm-ups.
3 in warm-ups, 4 in the games. We get one long when we're going to throw it up. We'll see what happens.
That's not true. You've been throwing the ball more. He knows it. I know it. It's all good. I just like to get
He didn't even watch any film this week.
You're crazy.
All right, so let's talk defensive. How do you even prep for this? You can watch it on tape all day. You can understand it as a coach, but then you take a bunch of younger guys trying to get a scout team against what they run. I mean, that misdirection and things, it's pretty tough to go full speed, right?
Well, that's the most challenging part is getting the look. I mean, we can talk about what you look at, where you go, how you react and all that, but trying to replicate that in practice is almost impossible. So, made our guys, well aware that we're going to do the best job we can to run the plays they're going to run and show you the looks you're going to get. But nothing's going to be like Friday night. I mean, what they got going and the people they got running it. I mean, it's going to take a couple series before we really are able to get adjusted with our eyes and the game speed. So.
What are we looking at linebacker wise? What are they doing? If they suck up and Gio gets to that second level in the wing too, that's tough to stop. So is there self-discipline that has to be aware of when you're playing against a wing T offense?
Who are you reading, Coach?
Yeah, I mean, you just got to read your key, and you got
obviously you're reading.
You got to read your key. And
Go
you
ahead.
do
Let's
your
talk about
job.
the keys that we're reading because I know. I mean.
Yeah, I mean, your keys will take you to the ball against the wing T. You just got to trust it, and that's the hardest thing is when they start motioning and doing all this eye candy. Is can you stay disciplined and read your key and take it, go where the key takes you.
I like it.
Well, and the same thing for us. I mean, we're not used to running the spread offense, so our scout team is struggling also.
If it's two of the most opposite, most foreign concepts, here it is.
Perimeter is not really like what they're going to see. So, I mean, it's the same thing. So, and that's one of the reasons why we chose the wing T, because we know there's not many people in the league or anywhere that run it, so that we know their scout team's usually not used to running things like that.
But hey, getting to look on defense has been kind of easy this week, though, right? Running the same defense.
Kind of the same, yeah.
So
Coach Melton's over.
So what are we looking at? What's Coach Melton looking at on tape against Nolensville? Give me a scouting report against their offense. What are they looking at?
Well,
what are they looking at trying to do? Spread the field.
Right.
One back or empty the back.
And still can run the ball. I mean, they got 15 sitting back there in the backfield. They're going to run the ball. And the quarterback, I mean, all right, he's a second-string quarterback. You want to excel? No, absolutely not. I mean, he's good. I mean, he carries out fakes. He's faking, throwing the ball. He's doing all kinds of stuff. So, like he says, eye candy, same thing for us. Same thing for us. We got to read the keys. We got to be in the position to make plays.
Are there two different game plans if one quarterback happens to come out versus the other? Is that going to make a different look?
I don't know. That's why I'm trying to figure something out.
So you need to get information, right?
Yeah, I figured we'd get that information
We'll talk
today.
after the show.
Well, Coach Derrick, you've done a good job. You're off the hot seat today. Thank you for joining us today. Coach Coleman, as always.
Yeah, great.
Stellar, my friend. Stellar. Enjoyed it, guys. Look, told you to go fast.
Yeah, it did.
Big game tonight, 7 o'clock at Summit High School. Nolensville's coming into town looking for that first WCS Sports Conference win. Pressure's on you, Coach Coleman, to hold that true.
Always is.
And this is going to be a great game. If you look at the 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon and look at the score of the Spring Hill games, you can't even throw it out the window. The pundits have you at +8.
We've
no
said
pressure.
it all week. We told our kids that.
+8.
We only won 12-7.
Thanks for joining us for Coach's Preview Show. We'll see you next week.